Well, let's head to the US now, where authorities continue to investigate the role Islamic State played in the New Orleans terror attack on New Year's Eve. An ISIS flag, as I said, was on display when Shams ad-Din Jabbar rammed his truck into the crowd on Bourbon Street, killing 15 and injuring dozens more. I want to talk about some of the details that have just come to light around this. I'm joined by Sky News contributor Kosha Garda. Kosha, thanks for joining me tonight. One of the things that stood out to me was the response of the FBI. I mean, trust is already at a pretty low ebb when it comes to the FBI, but it wasn't helped when hours after the attack, the FBI's special agent told the public it wasn't a terror attack. The FBI said that they were searching for 3 people, then they backtracked and said, no, there was no one else involved. It was just Jabbar acting on his own. The FBI really are not exactly covering themselves in glory, and it's only early days.
To put it mildly, to say the least, they're not covering themselves in glory, James. And just to give a little bit more context, their budget post 9/11 has doubled from where it was then. It was around $5 billion US dollars a year. Now it's more than $11 billion a year in this intervening 20-year period. And the results just aren't there, both in terms of what they have failed to investigate, such as this unfolding story. Stephen Paddock, the person who carried out the biggest mass shooting in U.S. history at the country music goers back in Las Vegas some years ago, to the Pulse nightclub shooting, to, I would remind everybody, the 2 assassins to President Trump. They had red flags in their profile and were not caught in time. And those are just off the top of my head. And then on the flip side, of course, this is the same FBI that has had many Americans angry for the political investigations that they've done, starting with the Crossfire Hurricane, also known as the Russia collusion hoax, to raiding the president, to going after American civilians, to DEI and other things that they've been focused on. So it is not a good look. This is going to be one of the more controversial picks of Trump coming into the new cabinet, but clearly, in general, people want reform and really are taking a sharper look at the FBI, and the events of the last 48 hours just really bring that point home even more loudly.
Yeah, you'd absolutely think support for Trump reforming the FBI would be at an all-time high now. The other major story out of the US has been the Cybertruck explosion outside the Trump Hotel in Vegas. The New York Post, just as we were coming on air, is reporting that the soldier who shot himself in the head just before his Cybertruck exploded outside the hotel had broken up with his wife 6 days prior. But that still doesn't explain why he would then choose to take his own life inside a Tesla outside the Trump Hotel. The whole thing just gets more and more strange, doesn't it?
It really is strange. This is a developing story, but it is clear that there is more than meets the eye to what's happening here. As you mentioned earlier in the previous segment about how those connections between this one and the New Orleans thing just seem too close for comfort, even though the official word is they weren't connected. The connections are many. Also, the fact that he was a Green Beret. This is one of the most elite divisions of the Special Forces in the United States Army. And so I wonder, what his objective was, because the mission failure rate for that division is pretty close to 0. Was his objective to actually take out a large number of civilians? Thankfully, that did not happen. Or was his objective more symbolic? It was a Tesla in front of a Trump hotel. I don't know. I don't want to read too much into it. But the whole thing just doesn't make sense why somebody of that stature and that caliber would be activated in this way or turned in this way. And then the way the mission was scoped and carried out also doesn't make sense on top of a whole host of other things. So hopefully we learn more soon. Back to the earlier topic with the FBI helping figure this out. In addition to the military, there is institutional failure at every level. So I'm not getting my hopes up that we're going to get lots of clarity soon, but the American people are demanding it. So hopefully something changes.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, of course, he was in a Tesla owned by Elon Musk. Let's talk about Musk for a moment. He played a major part in Donald Trump's election campaign, and he's starting to shape up as a major player in the new administration as well. But help me understand the relationship between Trump and Musk, because it's reported that Musk has actually moved into Mar-a-Lago.
Yes. Now, Mar-a-Lago, of course, is a resort and a membership club, and it has something like 126 guest rooms that members can book out, and he's decided to camp out there. He seems to be having the time of his life, joining all sorts of meetings with high-profile people, domestic and foreign. In terms of the relationship, it's new. Clearly, he did play a pivotal role in the election, specifically Pennsylvania, which was the keystone to the whole victory. And I would just look at it as, these are two people that are different yet similar in terms of their success. They're the two most powerful men in the world, if not, up there among very powerful people in the business world as well as politics. And they found common cause where they just want to make America great again. And they're aspirational people, whether it be to unleash peace and prosperity in a new golden era, or in Musk's case, he's talked about going to Mars, and he genuinely believes that America will be able to do that in his lifetime. Whatever the reasons are, I think they're in this for that aspirational goal of making the country great again.
It's a really interesting relationship. I mean, Trump is accused of wanting to be a dictator and he's a narcissist, but typically those sort of people can't stand anyone else in the room who, is approaching their stature. So for the two big guns to both be able to work together actually says good things about them, I think. Anyway, we'll see how that relationship develops. Koshigata, thanks for joining me. Appreciate your time.